I'm your host, Carrie Arata, Akashic Records reader, psychic sleuth, and spiritual guide. And this is The Infinite Dance, the Akashic podcast. Happy October. Today is October 1st, and I had to make sure and get in the Akashic messages for October, at least on the 1st of the month. So, a special time of year going into fall, or just, right at the beginning of fall. And it's a special time for those of us that practice witchcraft, and it's holds Samhain, which is the witch's new year, which falls on October 31st, which a lot of people call Halloween. And it's, that time of year where the veil between our world that we live in and can see with our naked eye and the world of our passed on loved ones, and things that we can't see with our naked eye, that we see with our third eye, have a chance to um, be seen together and felt as we are in our human bodies. So that's why it's so highly revered. Um, and it's so interesting to see how that continues to feel and to interact with it, um, especially over the past year and a half, 2 years now. So exciting times. Let's get into the messages that are coming through. Um, we're revisiting our past selves and our past wisdom. And of course, you know, this time of year we do that. We happen to be in Mercury retrograde time, which is a time to kind of look back and honor those experiences we had. Um, and that can be daunting, as you have heard. If you've made it through the first two of the three moving in the time of COVID episodes are long, but those journeys that we go through that are really tough, it can be very uh, supremely healing to not only revisit it ourselves, but to share it with others, because then we got that connection in there. And that connection is why we're here. So, cool time. The first image I got was of this poem I wrote when I was 22, no, 23, maybe 24. And I wrote it. When I displayed it, I found this picture of this goddessy looking woman, and there's kind of like the shadow part of her, and then the um, not so shadowy part of her, right? So she's kind of um, has this mirror image of, she's seeing both at the same time. She's seeing her shadow elements, and she's seeing um, her light elements. And the poem, and I can't find it, and I don't know it by heart, because a lot of my things are in boxes still. And but it went along the lines of, it talked about all the colors of the rainbow, and how colors um, are like time, and they're always changing, and how you can relate to a certain color being the sky, and a certain color being the ocean and the waves. And um, I read it from time to time. I actually display it in my house, and I'll stop and read it. I'm like, that little young witch was smart. That was wise. I was talking about so much, how that's pretty much the constant, whether it's in nature or us as humans. And also alluding to all the chakra work that I do now. and how those can emulate what's going on with the world around us and how it affects our physical bodies. Because again, the chakras are a part of our energetic bodies. So that was the first image I got. So I got shown that poem, how I displayed it, and the shadow and the light, and in the mirror that, you know, we can stand in to embrace all the sides of ourselves. The second image I got was of a African god, and I couldn't, exactly see who it was. And as I delved further, I started getting images of when I used to dance with a teacher, and she did African Brazilian um, dances with the Orishas, which are a Yoruba and other religions that pay homage to the Orishas. That's their term for gods and goddesses. And even though I am not super familiar with them other than the dancing, this one came through very, very, like, clearly, like, "Okay, I'm here," and there was this, warrior-like, um, presence, and it wasn't so much like, "We're gonna fight a war." It was more like, I'm fiercely here, and, if you're familiar with Orishas, it was Elegua, and which in religious practices that pay homage to or to the Orishas, they always will um, give reverence to Elegua first when they're doing ritual. He kind of opens the lines of communication between this world and the ones, beyond. And I thought, well, how perfect for this time of year. And so I kind of was asking further, okay, how come I'm getting these images, though, these particular images for conveying that message? And I got that when I danced under this teacher. Her name is Rosangela Silvestre, and she is lives in Brazil full time, but she travels throughout um, various parts of the United States teaching workshops. And when you dance the Orisha dances, you dance to live drumming. And you dance towards the drummers. So there's this connection with the musicians, and the drumming is, there's this repetition with it, and this connection with the drummers. And you really get lost in those movements. It's like you feel the embodiment of the Orisha that you're dancing, because it's usually, one dance per um the movements and the certain movements you do. And that fierce movement came through because I was seeing the red and the black too, and those are the colors of Elegua, um, which I think are so perfect. So red is, root chakra, so staying grounded in this dimension, on earth, and black, seeing what's still hidden, or being able to go into that which you cannot see, and embracing things that are unknown, and how important that is, and how much we're given that opportunity right now. And, that repetition of the drumming and the repetition of doing the dance steps, because we would take certain rounds doing the exact same steps. And we were usually in, and they called it families of like 3 to 5 people, depending on how big the group was and how big the space was that we were dancing in. So you'd have your family and you'd, dance towards the drummers and in this repetitive movement to this repetitive sound. And in my work that I do with the Akashic records and Akashic healing and transmuting negative thought forms, right, with new stories and how we have to repeat those. And in body work, which I started doing more regularly again a couple months ago, how important the repetition of a stroke with getting the client to trust, and also the nervous system to respond and relax, to receive the the um, the healing. Right? It's healing to have that touch, and especially when I'm doing manual lymphatic drainage, which feels lighter because the lymphatic system's right under the skin. So I'm not pushing down towards the bone. I'm moving towards lymph nodes. And so that they can do their job to help relieve inflammation or pain, and how important the repetition is. And so that's why I was giving those images of dancing, the Orisha dances. And this was back in Colorado. And I've mentioned her before, but Cabrina de Jesus is the resident um, dance teacher teaching those there that I know of, that I danced under. And she goes under Samba, Colorado. So if you do want to check into that and you're in Colorado, I don't know of any where I'm at now. I have not had a chance to do that, to delve into that yet. But that is on the list, especially now that it came up again as this, healing. And it wasn't hard to feel that healing in those classes. And they were like 4 or 5 days long, like we'd go back, and it was so nice to have that space. And I hope to have host Angela on this podcast. She's a teacher that I not only found inspiring as a dancer, but just her whole approach to how she interacted with us as her students, and the gratitude that she held um, was just contagious. And I was brought to tears um, almost every time, I danced. And it was just so moving, and it's full of so much integrity. So anyways, um, Archangels Michael and Uriel also came. Um, Archangel Michael, of course, helping us with protection, right? Make sure you have those clear boundaries. He'll help you with those clear boundaries. And knowing who you're connecting with is going to be very important. Always, always, always know who you're connecting with, know who your guides are. And if you have questions, ask more questions, because, if it's to another person, if it's to more guides, if you need some help, reach out, because sometimes if you're in the thick of something and you're trying to figure something out and you're trying to connect, things can get a little not so clear, and maybe you're not getting the guidance that you actually need. And then Archangel Uriel came. So Uriel's like the old sage archangel. Not that they're all old sage type beings, um, but he definitely has this illumination, um, you know, when there's earth changes, right? And we've had so much strange weather that we've all contended with, whether it's flooding and or fires or um, hurricanes. I mean, it's just it's beyond. And so he comes and helps with that, and to help the spiritual side of what's happening, right? To kind of get into how can I understand this from a different view? Okay, because when we just look at it from an earth view, we're like, oh man, like this is what is this, right? And the other image, so the last image that came was um, when you are connecting, right? And you're getting in touch with your passed on loved ones or other entities that are healing and helpful, that beautiful golden light that, you know, you can feel coming down onto you and overtaking every cell of your body. See yourself standing in that, and I call it golden creator substance, right? Light. And know that every step you take, you are stepping with that golden healing light. So it's coming through from higher realm, from source, through to every cell of your body, and you're taking it with you, right? While you move. There's that fierce movement again. I really like that term. Um, it's clear, and to not to be able to embrace your own strength and have a fierceness to it. Sometimes it's hard for people to hear somebody who's clear, and not unkind. There's a huge difference. But when somebody's really clear, um, sometimes it can be, and when it's direct, right? If it's direct and it's clear and it's like, hey, we got to address this topic. This is very important. There's a fierceness behind that it's saying we need this change, we need this movement, we need this dialogue to happen. And we've got this huge chance with the veil thinning this time of year, and going into Samhain. So revisiting our past selves and revisiting your past wisdom, okay? Honoring the fact that there were probably many a times that your younger you had some pretty stellar wise moments that you brought with you. And that's pretty cool. We've got Archangel assistance from Michael and Archangel Uriel with boundaries, protection, illumination, and understanding of that that which we cannot see, but with our third eye, and Alegua, and the Orisha that's going to help with communication and having that fierceness, movement. Um, And, he does embrace, sometimes he's shown as a young boy and sometimes as an old man, and there's a bit of a trickster energy to him too. Um, so again, embracing those both sides and seeing the mirror, looking in the mirror and seeing both, right? The old and the young, um, the light and the shadow, and knowing that both are so incredibly, not only valid, but needed. So those are your Akashic messages for October. If you would like a private reading, ancientbodyworks.co, you can reach me there. Um, these this podcast um, is greatly helped by listener donations, and I'll leave in links in the show notes ways you can donate to the podcast. It's always greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. I do have a discarnate soul miasm and stalking entity training coming up on October 28th via Zoom, and that one is going to be about 2.5 hours. And we're going to get into the who, what, when, where, why. A discarnate soul stays earthbound, stays on a person, stays on an area, and how to go about finding those things out. Um, should they stay here? Should they be, should a soul not in a body stay earthbound? Is that beneficial to the earth entities that are in bodies and to the soul that's not embodied anymore? We also will have a bit of ritual and guided meditation, of course, to get ourselves into the space and the beautiful time that is Samhain. So you can find me on Facebook at The Infinite Dance and Instagram at Ancient Bodyworks. I'm also actually now on TikTok at The Infinite Dance. So you could find me there, although I'm trying to embrace it. This is going to sound funny, but I find TikTok a little loud. So it's a thing that you have to kind of hear. And so I kind of like it when I get on and somebody's put the subtitles. So I have to figure out how to do that so then I could have it on mute and then still see what whoever I'm following is doing. Anyways, happy October, and keep peeling back the layers and keep asking yourselves and each other, may I have this dance?